know what to make of what is happening here with this rampant violence, other than we have a cultural problem in America. America has a cultural problem that has spread throughout the globe, and maybe it's always kind of been this culture of violence. Maybe we can go back to the Vikings, the Crusades. Maybe we can go back to the Crusades. Those of you who are students of history, maybe the violent nature of man has always been prevalent, and maybe we've just been deluding ourselves into thinking that, if we can just appeal to people's better angels. Something's wrong, though. Something's broken. I kind of knew when the babies at Sandy Hook were slaughtered and this country couldn't figure out how to have any kind of gun reform. I mean, when Reagan was shot, there was conversations around gun reform, and it seemed like there was an appetite, because a sitting president was shot by somebody who was crazy and he had a gun and access to guns. No, we shouldn't have access to guns for people who are suffering mental illness. Yes, we should definitely not have these so readily available. And there was conversations, then it just went away. And then babies were killed in Connecticut, and there was, hey, the NRA is like, no, we're not giving up our guns. As a matter of fact, let's do a campaign and have people show their guns. And so we've been bombarded over the last 20 years with people showing their guns on social media, maybe the last 10 years for sure. How many guns do you have? I have 100 guns. Even my baby, my 2-year-old has a gun. Look, we're all shooting. And guns aren't the problem, but they are. There's way too many of them. Way too many of them. They're easily accessible. And I listen, the right to bear arms was not about you having 100 guns. It was about having a tyrannical leader, like what happened on January 6th, and for the rest of us sane people to be able to form a militia against somebody that is going to destroy democracy. That's what the Second Amendment was about. You can read it for yourself. It's so easy to read if you can read for comprehension. So before I went to bed last night, breaking news came in. Actually, it was way before I went to bed because I couldn't sleep very well because I'm like, what the hell? And this man's still out there. At least he was still out there at the time that I prepared for this show today. I'm not going to say his name, but I just imagine, because I grew up bowling. Some of y'all may know I bowled a 248 once in my life. I love bowling. My mother.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, Smith. I was really good. My brother's even better. My brother and his wife, they bowl. They're in a couple of leagues and they win trips to places like Hawaii. So bowling's part of my family. Actually, my parents bowled when I was a kid. So every Friday I was at the bowling alley. It's when I first knew that my vision was going bad, because every week I would have to squint more and more to look at the bowling score. But the French fries were amazing, and the video games at the bowling alley, amazing. Every Friday night, my parents, right after school, would be at the bowling alley. There were trophies in my house, lining my house. My mother could bowl her ass off. My father, oh, they were just great bowlers. And so bowling was kind of cultural, for us. And as I mentioned, my brother and his sister and my sister-in-law they still bowl. I can't imagine being and this last night was a youth night at the Just in Time Recreation Bowling Alley in Lewiston, Maine, population 38,000. And in walks this guy with an assault rifle and opens fire in a bowling alley. And you can see from the, you see the little lockers, you see the little bowling thing with shoes and this is family fun. Bowling is family fun. It's communal. It's, I guess we can talk about the Migos at a bowling alley, and we can talk about Allen Iverson at a bowling alley. But by and large, bowling alleys are places of fun and recreation, joy and happiness. Until my knees were messed up, I love bowling, and I probably could bowl now that I got them replaced. I haven't tried, but it was really painful because you got to push off, and if you bowl like I do, I'm aggressive. But I cannot imagine being at a bowling alley on a Thursday night, youth night, and having somebody come in and just open fire. And then he got in his car and drove a few down the road to a restaurant and shot more people. So folk in Maine, all of Maine, especially Lewiston and surrounding areas, are sheltering in place. They were sheltering in place all night because the man is still out on the loose. And the problem that they're having they know who he is, but he looks like everybody in Maine. He looks like everybody. He's nondescript, the beard, the face, the complexion, the hair. It's like everybody else. See, when you live in homogeny, this is the thing. You have no scapegoats. You have no, people fitting the description because everybody looks like that in Maine. This is what news reporters are saying, that it's hard to identify him because he could just blend in to the tapestry, to the landscape. Some witnesses last night, they described it as desperate and horrifying. People were hiding behind tables inside the bowling pin machines at the end of the lanes. One mother, her name was Megan Hutchison, said, when I turned around, I saw the shooter. I don't know if that was just a warning shot or if he shot somebody with that bullet. She said between the lanes, there were some swinging doors where they keep all of the mechanical stuff. So she and her children, they ran that way. They barricaded there. Another parent was in the room with her. She said they had a phone. They called 911. Then he left and he went to Shemingi's Bar and Grill restaurant around 7 p.m. So you imagine you go out for a nice Thursday night dinner. Some people aren't working on Fridays. Maybe this is the time you unwind after work, happy hour just is going on, and you're eating at Shemingi's Bar and Grill, minding your business. Maybe you're getting some, bar chips and burgers and maybe a nice steak with a baked potato, and you're just eating, minding here, and in comes this guy. Shoots up the place. 18 so far. There were like 50 to 60 people injured. And in this little town, they don't even have a level 1 trauma center. They don't. So they're level 3. So they're not getting the best medical attention. Why? Because this area had a total of 29 homicides all last year, just 29. And I say just because the 29 people who are dead, probably, their family members would not say just 29, but this is not a high killing area. This is not Anchorage, Alaska. This is not Anchorage, Alaska. This is Maine. Lewiston, Maine, population 38, 84% melanemic. This is one of those bucolic. This is, community. This is a community. One of the witnesses said, this is hard in a community like this. We are more of a town than a city. This doesn't happen in these places. When they write songs about these places, it's not this. We've locked our doors and closed our curtains. This is not what we do here. We don't lock our doors and close our curtains. We keep our y'all know when you drive through certain neighborhoods, curtains wide open. Like, I know I always like, how you got your curtains open like that? We could just see right in your house. You know what I'm talking about. Because, we keep our curtains closed and our blinds shut, and we ain't trying to have you look in our house like that. But this is one of those nice neighborhoods. So the shooter, who still is he still on the loose? Let me know, if they find him, because that's the other thing. The cops probably won't stop him. You know what I'm saying? He's not somebody that you would he's not a threat because he looks just like you. So you're probably, even though you're looking for him, you got his picture, you're not honing in. He's not George Floyd or Mike Brown or Eric Gardner or Tamir Rice. He's somebody that, looks like somebody. So his sister-in-law, she told the Daily Beast that their family has been messaging her brother-in-law, this Cretan's brother, urging him to surrender. So they've been messaging him, surrender. She said, I've known this guy's my whole life. This is Katie. She said today, he's quiet, but the most loving, hardworking, kind person that I know. But in the past year, he had an acute episode of mental health, and it's been a struggle. So how are we supposed to feel? And do other people get to have a mental health? Terrence Crutcher was having a mental health crisis. Terrence Crutcher, his twin sister, Dr. Tiffany Crutcher, has been on this show several times with Demario Solomon Simmons. He was having an episode, and you know what he got? Killed. Elijah McClain probably wasn't having an episode. He was just different, just different. He got shot with ketamine, and he's not here anymore. This is a kid that played the violin for Cats, like just a really special, wonderful human being. Not here, but Katie, what are we supposed to feel about your brother-in-law? Because you know he had a mental, and I'm not saying that people don't have mental health crises. I know that there are millions of people right now suffering with bipolar disease, bipolar, episodes, having all manner of anxiety and mental health issues, and they do not do this. They do not go out and kill people. So I have very little capacity for the mental health break excuse, because there are people right now suffering with mental health, people listening to me right now going through some mental health crisis, and will not go pick up a gun and go shoot up a bowling alley in a restaurant. They're not doing it. They're not. So last week he had an acute episode, and it's been a struggle, I'm sure. And recently he began wearing a hearing aid to combat hearing loss. So, okay, there's some people out there right now with vision loss and hearing loss, and they're not going out picking up assault rifles and just spraying the place with bullets and killing innocent people. They're just not doing that. So he's been hearing voices, and yes, so you get help, and then you don't have access to a gun. Like, that should be the first thing. Does he have weapons? Let's go get his weapons. I mean, where are the interventions? So I'm looking at you, Katie, and your whole family, because you knew he had some issues. Again, there are not enough thoughts and prayers, and I like to offer them, but I don't think they're going to change anything, because we're going to be right back here. This is one of the deadliest years in our history. 18 people and several others holding on to their lives, but this is to me an indictment of a culture that doesn't value life and hasn't valued life, if we're being honest. This is very American. And there are places, I've been talking a lot with folk across the pond. I have a team over there helping me with Healthy, Wealthy, Wise. My team's in London. And they don't have these mass shootings because they don't have these guns. They just don't. They don't. It is not in there, and I don't watch Top Boy and all that. There's a lot of shoot 'em up, but that's not really the culture. That's not the culture there at all. It's not a gun culture. We have a gun culture, and we have a vigilant, virulent, fear-mongering society that tells people that somebody's coming for them. And in this case, I don't even know what the motivation is, because, again, this is not racial. This is not somebody who got, turned down by some women and decided to shoot up a college. This is not somebody that hates Black people and decided to go to a church or to a grocery store with a manifesto. This is not somebody having a mental health crisis and going to a school where his mama is and shooting up the school. This is not Uvalde. This is not Parkland. This is middle America or upper middle America, Maine, one of those, very bucolic, civilized places. No crime. I could leave my door open and my windows, my curtains open until you can't. And I don't know what the solution is. So if you have answers, give us a call, 866-801-8255. There's some craziness going on. In Maryland today, a man was found dead in Maryland. But this man, again, and I saw a picture of him. His name, let me get his name, Pedro Argato. Argote or Argato. Come on, Karen. Argati, Argote. Slightly built man, wears glasses. He looks like he could be like the office manager, any office manager. Think of the office manager with the white shirt, with the tie, glasses, the hair, the wispy hairs. He's 130 pounds, 5'7". So he's not a big guy, well-dressed, button up, clean cut, corporate office dude. He was last seen driving a silver Mercedes, 2009 Mercedes GL 450 with Maryland plates. So he's a guy, 4 kids, wife. So last week, last week, he allegedly, because we don't know for sure, but they think he killed a judge. Maryland City Court Justice Andrew Wilkinson was found in his driveway Thursday, shot, 52 years old, found at 8 p.m. last Thursday in northern Maryland town of Hagerstown. He was taken to the hospital and died there. They believe he was killed by Pedro Argati, who killed a judge, allegedly, because the judge granted full custody to his wife. And he was also ordered to pay $1,120 a month in child support, which for 4 children, that is, man, there's some rappers out there that would love, some basketball players would love to get that deal, $1,120 a month for 4 kids. He was also prohibited from visiting or contacting those children unless the wife initiated the contact, because he was known to be abusive. He was also, a protective order was issued for the wife in relation to this domestic abuse that took place, and this was court documented. So he didn't like the verdict. He didn't like having to pay child support. He didn't like having his children, his wife, getting sole custody. So apparently he shot this justice in his driveway. It's scary out here. And I think about, the former president and all of the things. It was gag order put on him because he's running his mouth. But the scary thing is that his people, the people that love and follow him, have no problem storming the Capitol. They would have no problem. And there's death threats against Fonnie Willis. There's death threats against Letitia James. There are death threats against these prosecutors and these judges in these cases. Death threats should be taken seriously in a country such as this, in a world such as this. But I think United States of America told the brutal people, the Vikings and the brutal Crusaders and the brutal Ottoman and the brutal everyone, hold my beer, watch what we do. And this has kind of been the inception. If you go all the way back to the indigenous folk that were here, the scalping was done to them. The smallpox was done to them. The Trail of Tears is literally called the Trail of Tears because of the brutality. And there are very few people left from the millions and millions of people that inhabited this very place where you have a home, where I have a home. Broadway is an entire Indian, what they call it, Indian trail, full of folk, towns, upstate, downstate, across this country, full of people who were here before, not here now. Followed by brutal laws. Let's kill the Indian to save the man. Followed then by separation and apartheid states and no governance and no rights and no anything. And then you bring them enslaved Africans here. Oh, 3/5 compromise. Let's codify that into law. But while we do this, let's rape and pillage and destroy life, because we could just bring another boatload in, because they're not people. They're not people. That inhumanity is baked into the soil. It's in the red, white, and blue. Put your hand over your heart and pledge allegiance. Yeah, we're going to have to deal with this.
I run my fingers through her hair as she smiles and says that she loves me. Isn't it lovely when the one who loves things is the one